So let's believe and pray. Mighty Fortress, we thank you for the gift of life. We want to begin our class today. May you help us understand in-depthly that which you have prepared for us is my prayer, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. Amen. So if I'm too fast, you'll kindly just inform me. I won't be writing. Today I won't be writing. So I'll just be going through the slides and I might be a bit fast. Kindly inform me if I'm fast. So this is what we'll cover. So the objectives for today's class, today's objectives. Today we'll be seeing dosage forms of different herbs. So we'll want to know dosage forms. And a dosage form here simply it means how is the herb in what how is the herb applied in, like, the condition of the herb or the state of the herb. That is what dosage form is in a layman's language. Examples of dosage forms would be tablets. Herbs can be formulated into tablets. So tablets is one of the dosage forms. Number two are capsules. They are herbs that can be packed in capsules, mostly extracts. So we have tablets as one of the dosage forms. We have capsules as a dosage form. And then we have tinctures as a dosage form. I'm actually preparing some tincture, a tincture of echinacea and some Ethiopian cayenne, the red Ethiopian cayenne, for some skin conditions. And tinctures, they are normally very therapeutic, and they normally act very fast. And when your patient has digestive problems, probably digestive problems like malabsorption, the best dosage form that you can give to such a patient is a tincture. The best dosage form of a herb is a tincture. Tinctures are normally in form of liquids and they are made from alcohol. So in level 2 of the training, we'll learn and know how to formulate tinctures. And the preparation techniques, we'll talk about basic preparation techniques. So other dosage forms, teas, you can prepare herbal teas either by decoction or infusion. We'll see in the next coming slides what decoction or infusion is. Decoction simply is boiling the herb, and mostly the parts that are normally boiled are the hard parts of the herb. An example are your roots and the bark of the herbs, and the delicate parts are normally just infused in very hot water. Infusion would simply mean steeping a herb in hot water that has come to boil and is still hot, infusing it for some time until it becomes warm. So infusion does not involve boiling in any way. So there are several preparation techniques for preparing herbs. There are macerations. There are several ways. So we'll see most of them. So to know how to choose dosage forms, I've talked about the dosage forms that we have. We have several dosage forms, and mostly here in Kenya, we normally use the local powdered herbs, but we as well have the extracts from the imported extracts. There are those that are not found locally, and they are normally very therapeutic. An example, if you're treating an HIV patient, well, you can use the local herbs, and if at all probably your patient does not delight in boiling herbs every now and then, you can give them extracted herbs. You can give them herbs where it really doesn't involve a lot of boiling. It doesn't involve boiling at all. So to know how to choose the form and the preparation technique most appropriate for achieving optimum therapeutic benefit with a particular herb for a particular condition. I've just received some call from a known number. Okay, so let me just text them. I'll call later, probably tomorrow. Okay, so understanding these two things is very important, very, very important. You might get a patient who probably well, I gave an example, a patient who the digestive system does not work at all. The digestive juices are not being produced as needed, and such like. As we continue studying this, we'll be able to understand more and more on this. So we'll get needed basic concepts of how drug affects the biological system. That is your body making your body. In anatomy and physiology, the unit anatomy and physiology, we discuss and know how our body is made, how our body functions, and how the different organs in our body are related and how they are placed, or yeah, how they're placed in the body. And so in this particular unit, we'll also see how the herbs that we claim to be superior to conventional medicine affects the body. Now that you know how probably your liver function, how can echinacea be toxic to the liver? Why is echinacea normally said to be toxic to the liver when used in very high dosages? Why is the castor plant toxic to your liver? How does it affect you negatively? And probably how does milk thistle affect you positively, or dandelion, how does it affect you positively? How does it make you, how does corn silk make you pass very large volumes of urine? How does it do that? How does corn silk why is corn silk used to treat urinary tract infection? Or why is it used to treat, why is it used to treat gout? So that's what we'll be learning under how drugs affect the biological system. And that is address important questions about herbal medicine and their therapeutic indications. I told you what indications are. The indicators. If I have such and such a symptom, what herb can I use? Probably you are having headaches that have lasted for 2, 3, or even 10 years. What can I use? Feverfew, or should I use a cayenne tincture, or should I use peppermint to just massage my head, or should I use peppermint and cayenne tincture to massage my head and take feverfew internally? How will it work? So those are the things that we'll seek to understand. So I don't know why my laptop is misbehaving. Am I pressing it too much? So it's just moving along. Okay, this is a bit interesting. This is a bit interesting. This has never happened before. This has never happened before. Oh, this is interesting. My laptop is not responding. Okay, so I think I'll just. Oh no. Okay. But the next slide talks about, I believe you saw it, where there's a mortar and a pestle. It talks about the formulation and preparations of medicinal herbs. And formulation simply it means the dosage forms that we talked about initially. Let me see if I can just scroll using my hand and get there. Wow, this is a tragedy. This is a tragedy. Okay, so I believe we are now there. I hope it won't move to the next slide. So formulation means dosage forms. Dosage forms. How in what forms can the medicinal herbs be given? So preparation, I believe you know what it means. This is just us trying to define the slide title, formulation and preparation. So formulation, dosage form, preparation. It simply means releasing the healing properties of different plants. Releasing the different properties of different plants. We'll see how that is done. So the stages of preparation, the stages of preparation are two, but mostly if you buy the herbs from a herbal store, you'll always start from the second stage, from the second part. So the first stage is cutting down the herb to workable sizes. Um, into workable sizes. Probably if you're someone who gets the herbs straight from your farm, you have to probably just cut them down to sizes or in which they can easily be formulated, or in sizes in which they can easily interact with the menstruum. You know what the menstruum is? The menstruum is simply just the solvent through which the herb is placed. Or rather, let's say if you are making a tea out of some herb, let's say milk thistle. Let me use a herb probably that we all know, hibiscus. Probably you're making tea from hibiscus. The water that you infuse or you boil the hibiscus petal in is called a menstruum. It is the main solvent of extraction. So in hibiscus, there are certain therapeutic properties. By therapeutic, what I simply mean is healing. There are some healing properties in the hibiscus or any other plant that dissolves when it interacts with water. It dissolves in the water when it interacts with the water. And so cutting down your herbs into workable sizes would mean increasing probably the surface area through which your herb will interact with the menstruum or the solvent of extraction. And so it is important. But most herbs that we buy from the herbal stores, we'll find them already powdered. They're already shed dried and powdered, you know. So we normally just go straight ahead to the next step, which is extraction, or the next stage, which is extraction. And extraction here is just separation of soluble herb constituents, that is the units or the healing properties in the herb, from inert fibrous matter. Inert fibrous matter. Like you're separating these chemical compounds from the fiber that is in your powder. You are separating it from the fiber and from the hard things that are in the powder, so that they can get dissolved in the water of preparing herbs. And we'll see deeply into this. We'll see deeply into this. Okay, it is misbehaving again. Um, I think I'll just use my hand now to do all this. I believe my voice is still clear though. So what are some of the reasons why we extract plants? So this is the second stage. The second stage is extraction. So what are some of the reasons why we extract? What are some of the reasons why we extract plants? Why don't we just use probably that herb, the powdered herb, probably if it is dandelion or milk thistle, why don't we just add it to our food and eat it with the food? Or why don't we just probably put it in capsules? That is the local ones. Just put it in capsules and swallow it. Or probably if it is possible, if you are vicious enough to just lick it and swallow it down with saliva. Why don't we take it that way? What are some of the main reasons? What are the reasons why extracting a herb is very important? What are some of the reasons why pre infusing or decocking the herb or preparing them into tinctures important? This is one of the reasons. Number one, it makes it palatable. Could not be true to cayenne. You know, if you pack cayenne in capsules, actually the herbs that you should not pack in capsules. If you pack cayenne in capsules, that one is a tragedy. That one is a tragedy. So there's some mission. I had some cayenne capsules with me. I had some cayenne capsules with me, and one of the missionaries came to me. Um, he had some allergies and he didn't have his glasses. He didn't have his glasses, and so he was finding a very rough time. And the place was so dry and dusty. So he came asking for probably a solution, something that would help tone down the symptoms of his allergies. And well, I decided to give him just 3 capsules of cayenne powder. And what followed after 1 minute uh, will live it will live to be a tale that I'll tell. The guy was seriously seriously in pain, and he was seriously sweating. He couldn't help but just hold tight his tummy as he cries. And seeing someone who's over 25 years old crying um, is tragedy. So a man, to be specific. So there are certain herbs that you should not give in capsules, like cayenne. You should feel that heat in your mouth so that the stomach prepares for what's coming. But when you just take it that way and feel, and then you don't feel the heat in your mouth, um, the stomach will not prepare for what is coming, and so your stomach lining might be a bit irritated as compared to when probably you could have taken it uncapsulated. I believe that was gotten, but we'll get to learn these things. There are some that we learn through experience, others experiences. There are some that we learn through our experiences, and there are some that you'll just learn through the reading of books. So to make palatable, to make the herbs concentrated so that they can at least be equally effective and efficient, like our contemporary conventional medicine, eliminating the need to use bulky or distasteful drugs. When you have 300 grams of an extracted powder of dandelion, you can use the 300 grams for 1 month, an extracted powder for dandelion. And when you have 300 grams of just the local one, the one that has not been extracted, the common ones that we find in our in most medical stores in town, the 300 grams, you can use it for around 300 grams, you can use it for around 1 week or less, depending on how often you're using it. If you're using 2 tablespoons in a day in 1 liter of water, you can go up to 7 or 10 days. If you're using 2 or 3 tablespoons, that's what I give most of my patients. You can use it for 5 days, and it will be done. But for extracts, the extracted powdered herbs, you can use them up to 1 month, because you really need very little dosages, because they are highly concentrated, very concentrated. So those are some of the benefits of using extracts. To remove inert constituents that in some way may interfere with the action of the desired constituents. I believe you know what constituents is. Constituents is the therapeutic composition of the herb. Like what cures your disease in the herb. The chemical that cures your disease in the herb is called the constituents. So we may have inert constituents. Inert constituents are fibers, those things that are they're not really that useful. So by the process of extraction, these inert constituents are removed. That's why when you prepare your hibiscus tea or your dandelion, when you infuse or boil it, or any herb, the local ones, you will see the water probably turn into some color, but then you'll remain with some leftovers, which at times the most people will tell you to infuse, which well is okay if you are if you really want to infuse, it's okay. If you want to take it that way, that is it's as well okay. But infusing is better, because almost everything has dissolved in the herb. So what remains is the inert constituents. So to remove the inert constituents that in some way may interfere with the action of the desired constituents. So to create a product that contains only pharmacological active constituents. And what did we say pharmacology is? Pharmacology is simply a branch of science that studies therapeutic agents, the agents that heal in drug medication. Drugs, I believe, you know what drugs are. A drug can be conventional medicine, or it can be the herbs. Anything that changes the chemicals in your body, anything that changes the body function is a drug. And it actually comes from a French word. The French word that the word drug comes from, simply it means dried herb. So that is so, should I say ironical? That is so ironical. We normally attribute the word drug mostly to conventional medicine. But the main reason why that is so, most drugs came from plants initially. So durag is a French word meaning dried herbs, and durag is the English name for drug. Like when you change durag, the French into English, it means drug. Okay, that is by the way. So to create a product of known strength and activity that can be reliably reproduced in subsequent batches. This one probably you might not understand it now until the second level of training, where we'll be doing calculations on how you can formulate tinctures, on how you can formulate tinctures and probably herbal liquids and store them for long, blah blah blah. Tinctures can be stored for up to 3 years. Actually, cayenne tincture is very good for emergencies, for first aid. When you look at the curriculum, you'll see there is some first aid kit. that will be made. So allow me proceed to the next slide. So I want us to talk about extraction. I want us to talk about extraction. And there are 5 different ways in which traditional herbs can be extracted or can be prepared for usage. There is maceration, there is digestion, there is percolation, there is infusion, there is decoction. I will just briefly talk about the highlighted 3. But before that, let's go to the initial slide before that. So as I said, when preparing herbs, there is something that you put the herb in to dissolve the therapeutic constituents or the chemicals that heal in the herb. And that particular substance is called a solvent. So back to the slide. Solvents, these are substances capable of penetrating the tissues of the herb and dissolving the therapeutic constituents. So example here is water. Most of us use water. You boil the water, put the herb, wait for it to sit until warm, sieve, and then probably drink depending on the herb. The dosage will depend on the herb. And then we have alcohol, which mostly is used to prepare tinctures. There are different percentages of alcohol from 40% all the way to 100% is okay to make a tincture. And when you want to remove the alcohol from the tincture, you just put a few drops of the tincture in very hot water, and the alcohol will definitely evaporate away and be diffused. There is glycerol or glycerin that can also be used as a solvent. Mostly, if this is normally used to tincture medications for children, because there are those who believe children should not use alcohol, tinctures that have been made from alcohol. So we have acetic acid, we have ether, we have oil. Oil mostly is used to make ointments. To make ointments. When you look at the curriculum that I sent for the level 2 training, you'll see some of the things that like you'll see ointments there, you'll see salves. Salves are more or less just they're more or less just oils, like a combination of herbs that have been made probably to be applied topically for treatment. You can make salves from cayenne. By the way, from that you can make your own product. Salves from cayenne, echinacea, burdock, any herb. Provided you have this knowledge, you'll know how to always make those salves and combine them. If probably you are treating a chronic wound that has begun rotting, you can use oregano tincture, use echinacea tincture, and use some cayenne tincture daily, just pouring it on that wound, or doing other methods or procedures on the wound. If you want to arrest bleeding, if it's an emergency, cayenne tincture is very good at that. Instead of just using the cayenne as it is and packing it in the wound, it might be a bit nasty and not appealing to the eye. Probably it could not even appeal to other people's senses, but it really doesn't have to appeal um, okay, it has to appeal to someone's sense, of course, for them to agree or buy your idea. But then it really doesn't matter, because God normally uses very stupid things to confound those things that are wise. Probably I should read that verse. Let me get my Bible. So the verse is in 1 Corinthians. It should be chapter 2 of 1 Corinthians. Let me get there quick. 1 Corinthians. In that verse, we are told how God uses stupid things and very stupid things to confound them which are wise. A very heavy language or a very heavy term to use. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, I'll read from verse 25. But you can read it from verse 18, just as a follow-up. So verse 25 says, because the foolish things of God is wise than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. But God hath chosen, that's verse 27, but God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. And actually, throughout scripture, you'll see this particular principle. You'll see this particular principle. And in context, we are talking about herbs. When you look at throughout the Bible, most of God's prophets or God's servants, they used these simple treatments, these natural remedies to alter or to cure diseases. Christ himself used that, and we are told that in the new city, Jerusalem, we'll be using leaves to actually treat ourselves back to the form and image that Christ really desires for us, back to the form, the size, and the image of Adam. So that's if you read Revelation chapter 22. Revelation chapter 22, verse 2. The last sentence, it says, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. So this is seen throughout scripture. And God uses simple things to treat. So in as much as you find a wound and just take the powdered cayenne and pack it on the wound so that you can arrest the bleeding, there is no problem with that. But if you can use a tincture, which is at least easier to use, it looks professional. That's also not a denial of faith using such, because it's as well simple. It's also simple, but a bit complex probably when you compare it to the cayenne tincture. So I just wanted us to appreciate the knowledge that God has handed down to us as the human race over the first few years, and now that we are living in the very closing ends of the earth's scenes, we really need to resound these things more. So I believe I've not lost anyone. Time is so much spent, but you'll just allow me to study what today's objectives, because we'll be having very little time. For this particular unit, we are supposed to conclude it in 5 hours. That is about 4 lessons. 3 lessons, if we go for 2 hours in each lesson, that's 6 hours, which will really help. So there are specific places that I'd really want us to get to. So we have modes of extracting traditional phytopharmacy, or the plant chemicals. The plant chemicals, of which we'll talk about the 3. Percolation, unless probably you have industrial equipment to do that, you can do it. Digestion, the same if you have the industrial equipment. For percolation, you can actually make tinctures in 24 hours when you have the instruments. But when you just do it manually, it might take you between 2 to 4 weeks to be able to get your tincture. So let's continue. So we'll be able to define macroration is macroration simply is okay. I'm here wondering why I wrote maceration, infusion, and decoction under one thing. Infusion and decoction should fall under maceration or maceration, because maceration it means the same thing as infusing and decocking. But maceration is more or less just soaking. It means soaking. So I think I should edit this. How come I didn't notice it in the when we were talking about this unit the last time? But it's well, we'll just change it. Let me see what the next slide says. So there's infusion, there's decoction. We'll talk about infusion. So there are two major ways where we can prepare herbs, that is water-based. We can prepare them alcohol-based, we can do water-based. Water-based we can use either infusion and decoction, which I had explained what infusion is, but I want us to see it deeply and probably read a few pharmacopoeias here. Pharmacopoeias are pharmacological Bibles. They are Bibles. The same in engineering, there's a Bible. For formulas in pharmacology, there are also Bibles for formulas and lots of other things. So there are two ways in which we can prepare. We can extract the therapeutic constituents using water, and that is through infusion or decoction. My laptop is disturbing me today. I really don't know why this is happening. Let me try again. Wait once. Let me just try something and see if it will solve the problem. I don't have this document stored in my laptop. It might be the reason why. So we're only 11 in the meeting. Okay, let's see what I can do. So you guys will forgive me. I believe you can see the slides. Okay. I think that was sorted now, so oh no, there's nothing that I did. Still disturbing. I've tried everything I thought might have been the issue. Should I just share the slides with you guys in the group so that you can follow? I think that's the best thing I can do. I'm sharing the slide to the group. So I've shared the slide to the group. You can have a look at it. It's 411 slides that you really don't need to worry. That's everything that we ought to cover. Actually, in that slide, we also have some things that we should not cover in this level of our training. But it's okay. You will have the privilege of just getting to see everything. Yeah. So you guys can just follow probably from the slide. So in case so we have two ways in which we can prepare herbs, that is using water, that is through infusion and decoction. And I think here I had some notes just down under the slides that talks about other ways in which we can use other ways in which we can infuse and prepare herbs. I'm really finding it a bit difficult. Okay, I'd really love to get your opinion. Can we postpone probably this class? Can we have this class tomorrow? The challenges are too much. Can we have it tomorrow probably? I'll try and sort what's the problems that I'm facing. Or should we just continue? Because I can continue without the slides. Should we continue, or really love to get your opinion? But now that I've sent you the slides, I think everyone can follow from their end, so that we do not waste time. I think that would be the best. That would be the best thing to do in this situation. So we can follow from slide 8. You can just open the slide on your side and we can follow from slide 8. Infusion and decoction. So there are several ways you can extract herbs using all those things that we mentioned, from water to alcohol to oil to glycerine. You can use any. You can put your echinacea powder in glycerine for 1 month and just let it sit, and there's some chemical constituents that will be dissolved in that glycerine, and then you just squeeze and do away with the hard and inert products. The water soluble ways, the alcohols that you can use. And so let's talk about the two ways you can use water. These are the common ways that are very important for us to know, mostly in our first level of training. So let's talk about infusion. Infusion, as you can see in the slides, it simply means steeping the delicate parts in water that has come to boil. What do I mean by that? You put your petals, one of the delicate parts of of a plant are the leaves, the flowers. There are some stems that are delicate. There are herbs that have volatile oil. An example is rosemary. Another example is probably lavender, valerian roots. So you can prepare such herbs by infusion. That would mean steeping them in water. We'll see what the British Pharmacopoeia, how the British Pharmacopoeia describes. We'll see how Remington and the British Pharmacopoeia describes the United States, not the British, the United States Pharmacopoeia. Pharmacopoeia, I told you, they are Bibles in the medical field. So steeping simply means just putting your herb and just letting it stay or sit in very hot water for some time until it becomes warm. That is something common to all of us. So in fusion, you can use either hot or warm water, and you can as well use milk. There are those who use milk to do this in other cultures. When we'll be visiting some botanical garden here in Kenya, to those who will be fortunate enough to join, we'll see how traditional herbs have been, how how in different traditions herbs have always been used, and how they've always been prepared. So there are cultures where they normally use milk to do this, to do these extractions, but we don't have to use milk for us. So you can use cold or hot water for infusion. You can use anything, but we are talking about water here. So how does Remington describe infusion in how does he describe infusion? Remington is quite a figure when it comes to pharmacology and pharmacognosy. He is a researcher. So these are liquid preparations made by treating herbs with either hot or cold water. That's the first point. Treating herbs with either hot or cold water. I believe you know what treating is. Um, Treating is simply just taking something through a process, taking something through something. Now that's a very weird way to describe it, but that's the simplest way I've thought to describe it now. So the drug is not subjected to the boiling process. That's something that you should not. You should not. The herb is not subjected in any way to boiling process. So hot or cold water. When you're using hot water, you do not subject it to boiling process. When you're using cold water, you do not subject it to boiling process. Although it is common to pour boiling water over it, that is over the herb, the mixture is allowed to stand in a closed vessel until cold. So the second thing is allowing the mixture to steep or to stand or to stay um, in a vessel that is closed. If it is your pot or commonly known as sufuria, you close it using a lid until it becomes warm, until it becomes cold. Most people say 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. It can probably even take longer than that, but take it warm. Cold water should be selected as the mainstream. So he's giving us a reason why we should select cold water. Probably why we should use cold water over warm water. So cold water should be selected as the mainstream. I believe I explained what a mainstream is. As the mainstream when the drug contains a valuable volatile principle. A volatile oil or a volatile principle are volatile oils that evaporate at the slightest exposure to heat. That's why they should not be used in hot water, or they should not be subjected to boiling. So when probably you need the essential oil for rosemary, and probably you need it diffused in the water, you just have your rosemary stay in the water, in cold water, probably for 24 hours, and then use. There's actually, you shouldn't even go through all that much pain, because you can find rosemary essential oils bought or sold in the herbal stores. But probably if you live somewhere in the country where you cannot probably access the oil, in level 2 you'll see how you can distill rosemary into essential oil, and these are the herbs that have essential oils or volatile oils in them, into the liquid volatile oils. So this one I normally don't see if it's necessary. I'm using cold water, but when we'll be talking about specifics, we'll see the specific herbs that we'll be using for such, and it would actually depend on the condition. because if the condition you are treating requires the volatile oils to be present in your water or in the tea, then you have to use cold water. So it depends with the conditions that you're treating, but we'll see and understand more about that. I really don't feel like I feel like that's just enough reading on that slide. We can move to the next slide, which is a continuation of the first. And here we now see what the the United States Pharmacopoeia gives when it comes to macerated infusions or infusing herbs. So here we are given some rough, let me say some rough quantities, or rather ratios, in which we can infuse these herbs. So the common ratio is 50 grams to 1 liter. 50 grams to 1 liter. 50 grams is about 2 tablespoons. 50 grams is about 2 tablespoons. So to 1 liter of water, very hot water. So most herbs, you'll always just use it that way. And in most traditions, that's in Kenya, the 1 liter is normally used throughout the day. They do not give more than 1 liter. But giving more than that is okay, because most herbs you should use around 2 to 5 grams per kg. 2 to 5 grams per kg should be the dosage for 1 day, but it depends from herb to herb. To 10 grams per kg. That's per kg of the person you are treating, the weight of the person you're treating. What do I mean? When someone weighs 70 kgs, that would mean in a day, if you're giving them a herb that is indicated for, like, the dosage form, like the dosage for that herb is 10 grams per kg, it would mean someone who is 70 kgs, you can give them up to 700 grams in a day of that particular herb. I believe that was understood, but we'll understand that more. Those will be privileged. We'll understand that more deeply. So, in the British Pharmacopoeia, we are told this about infusion. I'll just highlight the main points. In infusions are dilute solutions containing readily soluble constituents of crude drugs. Crude would just mean homemade drugs. They are usually prepared by diluting 1 volume of concentrated infusion to 10 volumes with water. So here they are saying 1 to 10. In the United States Pharmacopoeia, they were saying 1 to 20. 50 grams to 1 liter is 1 to 20. 1 to 20. So there's no the difference is so slight. The difference is so slight, and I trust the Brits because they really got it when it comes to herbs. There's a lot of research there when it comes to herbal therapies compared to the United States. So 1 to 20, the highest dosage, and you should not let it stay. When a herb is infused, you should use it within 12 hours of preparation, because it can ferment, it can go bad. So 12 hours of preparation. Do not refrigerate. Just put it in a cold, dry area. So that is it on infusions. I want to do cold infusions. This one we've talked about. If the constituents can easily break down when exposed to the slightest heat, when the herb contains volatile oils and you need the volatile oils. So the infusion should last for 6 to 12 hours in a well-sealed pot. When the liquid is ready, strain and use. So that's how you can prepare cold infusions. But we'll see specifics. Just have that in mind. Just have that in mind. So that is all about infusion. That is how it's supposed to be prepared. You just boil your water. If it is 1 liter, boil 1 liter of water. Once it has come to a boil, put off the heat and then add your 2 tablespoons of herb to that 1 liter. Close the top, or close your sufuria using a lid. Let it sit until it's warm or cold, and then take your 1 liter twice in a day. If you want to make, probably, let me give you a practical example. There is a patient I gave some formula for the liver, and I mixed several herbs there, about 6 herbs for her liver, and she's required to use, the dosage that I gave was 1 tablespoon 6 times in a day. 1 times 6, that would mean 1 tablespoon should be prepared in about 500 ml of water, or 250 ml of water. And that would mean this patient will be required to prepare this drug by infusion 6 times in a day. But you can make it easier for your patient. If it is 1 times 6 or 2 times 6, they can prepare the whole dosage in the morning and then use a glass throughout the day. So if it is 1 times 6, this would mean 500 ml, 1 tablespoon in 500 ml. So 500 ml times 6 is about 3 liters. So that would mean they're supposed to prepare, boil 6 liters of water, and then put, boil 3 liters, not 6 liters, 3 liters of water, and then put 6 tablespoons of the herb. Infuse 6 tablespoons of the herb in the water, and then sieve, and then use 1 glass or 1 cup, continuously in a day, just 1 cup times 6 in a day. But we'll be able to understand that more. So that is cold infusion. And under there are some notes that you'll read. The note that read, as an alternative, cold milk can be used as a base for cold infusion. Milk contain fats and oils, blah blah blah, all that. You'll just read it, but we do not really need milk to make our infusions. And so here I've given you a list of herbs that we can prepare, that can be prepared by infusion. There are several herbs that can be prepared by infusion. So in our next class, when we meet next, we'll talk about decoction. So you can go through the herbs that can be prepared by infusion at your free time. You now have the slides. You now have the slides. So in our next class, I see the notes on decoction are very short. Okay, but we'll talk about decoctions in our next class. So that is just it for today. That is just it for today, unless probably someone has a question from their experiences with herbs, or a question from what has been covered in today's class. You are free to unmute and ask before we say a closing prayer. Okay. Okay, so I'll just say a prayer and then we'll close. Time is so much spent. We have about 10 minutes to 10. By 10 we should be asleep, according to the principles of health. By 10 you should be asleep. So Let's believe and pray as we wind up today's class. So today we've just studied infusion. Just to go through the notes, there's a lot in that slide that you guys need to know. For 11 slides, there's a lot. So, but that's the whole coverage for this unit. So if you can go through before we even talk about them, you'll at least be having some questions, some curious questions to ask from your study, which will really help us expound more and study well, study well. So let's believe and pray as we close. Mighty Fortress, we thank you for um, the knowledge that you've given to us today. May you help us know how we can practically apply and use such a knowledge in the treatment of the sick without messing, without putting your name to shame. May you be with us throughout our endeavor of acquiring knowledge. Is my prayer, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. Amen. So tomorrow we'll see practically how infusion can be done. I'll come with a video and we'll watch the video how it can be practically done. So have a blessed night rest. From the practical video, you'll be able to know how this is done. So you'll be able to link the theoretical and the practical. So have a blessed night rest. Allow me just